In late 2004, strategy gaming changed. Rome Total War came out, bringing with it impressive real-time tactics battles featuring thousands of fully 3D models. It was a feat of engineering and programming thought to be beyond the capabilities of the time. It brought Total War closer to mainstream, and it put creative assembly under the spotlight. Since then, CA has made game after game attempting to improve its formula ever so slightly with each iteration. Whether you believe or not that they've been successful at making better games, it's really completely up to you. I'm not here to argue on whether or not modern Total War games are better. Today, I simply want to appreciate the political mechanics of the classic Total Wars Rome 1 and Medieval 2 and tell you why I love them and why these mechanics should resurface in future games. Most of you probably think that there isn't politics in Rome Total War, but this is not true. In fact, there are Senate offices, standings, and civil war mechanics. And how did this all work? Let's find out. Every 8 turns, the Senate will assign offices to the available pool of Roman characters, and all of the 6 available offices will be filled. These offices will grant stat bonuses to the office holder, and once a character has held one office, they'll be allowed to be elected to the next in line. But how does the game decide which characters get chosen? This has to do with your standing amongst the Senate that you can improve by completing Senate missions, as well as each character's influence stat. The higher the Senator's view of your faction and the more influence your characters have, the higher the likelihood that they'll be elected into an office. And what about the Civil War? Alongside the Senate standing, there is the popularity with the people. Once you've achieved a certain level of popularity, you'll be able to declare war on your fellow Romans, starting a long and bloody civil war. What I like about this system is that the player can't directly control how the Senate picks the characters. You can simply do your best to increase the odds of them picking your characters. It's the same with your faction's popularity amongst the people. To increase it, you need military victories, conquest, and good public order. It's all about how you manage other mechanics. And the Civil War is actually not too bad. While I would enjoy if the other families could start the Civil War, as in Rome 2, other political parties can, truth is that only the player can start it in Rome 1. This is both good and bad. On the one hand, it allows the player to get ready for the Civil War at their own pace. On the other hand, it kind of removes the challenge and dynamic gameplay. In Rome 1, a civil war is never unexpected, nor is the relations between senators or families relevant at all. This is where new mechanics and systems could come into play to make it deeper. Similar to this system is the papal standing in Medieval 2. Did you know you could request the Pope to call a crusade? Well, you can. But for the Pope to accept, you need to have good standing with him, and to have a good standing, you'll need to build churches, convert your regions, and fulfill the missions issued by the Pope himself. But why do you want to go on a crusade anyway? That seems like a waste of resources. Well, sending characters on a crusade is a great way for them to become chivalrous, and as such, great administrators for your settlements. They will also gain morale buffs for their troops. Crusading units will have reduced upkeep and greater movement on the campaign map, and the Pope will like you more for winning a crusade. It's that simple. This is important because it will make other Christian factions less likely to attack you. And on the other hand of the spectrum, you may be excommunicated, and that means other Christian factions are much more likely to be aggressive towards you. Muslim factions can call a jihad, but there is no imam standing. Instead, you can simply call a jihad if there are no other active jihads, and it's been a few turns since the last one. As far as immersion goes, this mechanic is great, and it's a shame that there are no internal faction politics with court systems like Crusader Kings. In fact, it's a shame that in Rome 2, the OG's political system was completely scrapped. Personally, I would have added more depth to it while maintaining the core principles. Perhaps your characters in office get certain mechanics unlocked like recruitment buffs, campaign abilities, special edicts, special province actions, etc. Perhaps you'd be able to see the senators and who they favored for certain offices, and you could perhaps try to bribe them or do something for them. And perhaps in a certain office, your characters could propose laws to the Senate and would have to argue for them, for example. Maybe military reforms could be passed in the Senate instead of being in the tech tree. Maybe the tech tree would simply allow this law to be passed. So many options for added depth. And I am not here to say that, woo, the old mechanics are much better or had much more potential than the modern ones. That's not the point. The real purpose for making this video is that perhaps it'll reach the developers. Perhaps it will make the game designers to look back into their old games and understand that these aren't all dated mechanics. Some things worked and are there ready to be worked on and improved. In Medieval 3, I would like the Pope to function in a similar way to Medieval 2, except with the added depth and options. I would like the Pope to have more of an influence in the succession of the Christian kingdoms, picking and favoring certain characters, and I would like there to be more options to interact with the Pope. I would like there to be a Holy Roman Empire that can function in a similar way to how Rome in Rome 1 functioned, with offices in the Holy Roman Court, intrigue between factions, an emperor standing mechanic, and full-blown HRE internal conflicts for its own crown, on top of internal faction civil wars. What do you think of politics in classic Total War? Do you think it has all of this potential to be put in future games and really shine? Let me know your opinion in the comments below. I'll be making a video on the obscure mechanics of Medieval 2 in the future as well, so if you like that, do subscribe to the channel. I've been Wolf, and I'll see you on the next one.